I'm Dave Worzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today on Spotlight, we're going to take a look at drug addiction and the stigmas associated with it. Today, we are at the center on Southwest Highway in Palos Park. We're talking with Jeremy Mazurek. Help us take a look at this topic. Before we kind of get into that, Jeremy, I want to ask you, how long have you been at the center? And you're also the business director here, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to the center, the first time I came here was in 2016, 10 years ago.
Okay. Congratulations on 10
yeah.
years.
This place changed my life. It wasn't an easy road. It wasn't always perfect, but 10 years ago I got here, my life changed. I was promoted to the business director last year in 2025.
Congratulations.
Yeah. To be on a team of directors here helping to change lives is a gift I couldn't even have imagined, really.
Yeah, obviously that's a very powerful thing to be a force like that in people's lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
To have that type of opportunity. So how about, you kind of mentioned you've been here 10 years. Based on your personal background, we're going to talk about the stigmas related to drug addiction. What are some of the stigmas that you experienced and, specifically misperceptions or things that people don't understand or they're not, aware of, they're not getting right,
I think the biggest stigma for me was that my drinking, my alcoholism somehow meant that I was a weak-willed person, that I was just not strong enough to quit. I think that's it's easy to think that way. I think it's an easier answer to say, if you really wanted to quit, you would. Right. And that wasn't the case for me. It was a disease. It is a disease. And to say that it is caused by some weak will and just not enough desire to change keeps people stuck. Yeah. Because that isolation that is caused from that, making you think that you're somehow different, just isolates more.
I guess, and you're kind of addressing the next question I was going to ask you then is, so what's the effect, for you experiencing that? People are questioning your will, your self-control, your ability to manage yourself like that. You don't have the willpower to do it. I mean, how did that affect you? Because obviously you've gotten to a better place now, right? But going through that process, how did that affect the way you were trying to live your life or trying to manage this?
Alcoholism is isolating in itself because you feel like it's bad, wrong, you need to hide it. It had run in my family, not in my immediate family, but my mom's father was an alcoholic. And I remember her saying to me once, "You remind me of my dad." And so because alcoholism has the stigma that it's bad, you feel like you need to hide it. And you hide this thing that somebody who has cancer doesn't hide their disease, but it creates a lot of shame and isolating. And then you're even more alone. And reaching out for help at that point becomes too much to bear.
Let's say that's such a painful example. And you're talking about, like, if you discover you have cancer, you're going to very aggressively try to get help, support structure, what resources are there, what expert doctors do I see. But the interesting exact polar opposite of that is I'm an alcoholic, and you retreat or you try and hide it or you try not to. I can see where that would make it very, very difficult to find a way to manage it or to get to a better place.
Yeah. The shame just compounds.
Yeah.
It just continues to compound, and admitting that there is a problem becomes almost worse than the problem until it doesn't. It flips at some point for most people, and that's when change happens.
So it sounds like, I kind of want to ask, so how did you overcome that stigma first, would you say? So then you're like, yes, I'm getting help.
So for me, it was a point of surrender where the idea, and I think this is whether someone's an alcoholic or an addict doesn't matter. There is a point where staying the same hurts more than going through some big change. I had tried to get sober many times, and it didn't happen. because I still had an idea of what I thought my life should look like. I was surrendering the alcohol, but not surrendering everything that came with it, which was just my way of life, the way I was living, isolating, not wanting to share with people, keeping secrets, dishonesty. And when I finally hit a point that the jig was up, there was no more keeping a secret. Everyone knew I couldn't keep a job. I was drinking all day, every day, hospitalizations. And it was, once there was no more secrets to be kept, I was free in a way.
Yeah.
I was free from the shame because it was all out.
Yeah.
What else do I have to lose?
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's like hitting the bottom, right? Fortunately, there's only one direction when you hit that point, hopefully.
Other than death,
Yeah.
right?
You mentioned your mother, and I kind of want to circle back to that a little bit. I'm imagining, hoping you had people in your life, friends and family who loved you and they cared about you. But I'm curious about that. Even though they love you and they care about you, somehow maybe they're still part of the stigma, well-intentioned or not. And what was that like? Did you encounter any of that from your family and friends?
My family loved me, and I think being products of alcoholism in themselves, like their own upbringing.
You're aware of it to some degree.
They're aware of it, but they've also become parts of the patterns. While my parents didn't drink alcoholically at all, they still had grown up in alcoholic families and became experts at, we don't talk about what's going on in the house, right? We keep secrets, and this is our business, not other people's business. So you learn those coping mechanisms early on when there's alcoholism probably running through generations, until you learn, what I learned was that the biggest gift and the way to make change is to reach out, ask for help, be vulnerable, which is the exact opposite of what I thought.
Right.
But it was well-intentioned. My mom and dad loved me. My dad, I remember fairly young, I was 23, talked to me about responsible drinking and was like, let's have 2 drinks tonight and then we'll stop after that. And I knew that wasn't how I drank. That was how he was able to do that. But when you start to notice that the way that you drink is different than other people, and you know that the way that you drink is not normal, you hide it. You just continue to hide it, and the shame compounds more.
Right. Yeah. And as you're saying, excellent air quotes here on the word normal, like that's okay and acceptable, but it doesn't apply to everybody everywhere.
No.
Let alone maybe that normal isn't okay either.
Right. Yeah.
That version of it. But what about, I mean, number one, thank you for sharing your story. I'm sure it takes a lot of courage to address it publicly like this. And I guess I want to talk to that courage or the strength where I'm guessing it, gave you the courage to do that. What gave you the strength to overcome that stigma and deal with your family in that way? And then also, what do you think people need to hear or understand that they're not understanding?
The strength for me became a practice at a new way of life. When I got to the center, I knew that I didn't know how to live anymore. Like I could not get through a day. And when I got here, all I wanted whatever God, the universe would give me. I would take it. Just let me get through a day without pain and suffering. And what I found here was an acceptance that my alcoholism didn't mean I was a bad person. The day I walked in, they said, "Welcome home," and gave me a hug and said, "Let's get to work." I had value just because I was a human being. And my behaviors and thoughts and feelings didn't mean I was a bad person. When I was drinking, I did bad things. I wasn't honest. And I was very self-centered, very much worried about my next drink rather than how that was affecting other people. my belief system that I built here at the center is that there are not bad people. We may do bad things. Being around like-minded people who come here every day and work gave me the strength, right? I didn't have it in myself. I needed support. They gave me the ability to ask for help when I needed it. I don't think that strength for me comes from within all the time. I need help.
I was just say I have a hard time imagining any person not needing help at some time, right? Not needing a support structure. We're human beings. We need help, right? We need those connections. We need support or comfort or encouragement at different times of our life to different degrees.
Yeah.
Thank you again for sharing that. I want you to think about, if you were to give a message to, to maybe your family or your friends, people who are not dealing personally with active addiction in their life, but maybe they know somebody, right? What would you tell them about being in that person's life, or what advice might you give them, or what might they need to be aware of or understand?
I think the hardest part of getting sober for me was the shame that was connected to my addiction. And to understand that the person that you love, your loved one, is not their addiction. I thought that my alcoholism defined who I was, and I'm an alcoholic and that's bad.
Yeah.
Today, I understand that alcoholism is something that I've suffered from, but it is not who I am. Right. It's not who anyone is. Right. Human beings are worthy of love and deserve wonderful lives no matter what they're going through. I think it's important to remember that that person that's suffering that you love is not their disease. They are a wonderful person who's capable of amazing things that is suffering.
And given the chance to overcome that disease.
Yeah.
And then
thrive.
That's when the beauty comes out and we can see it and thrive and have the life we hope everybody has.
Yeah.
Right?
It's incredible, the life you can build beyond your wildest dreams.
It's a beautiful message, wonderful message. I hope people can take that to heart. I'm going to give you one last. Any other advice you might consider that people should, take into their thought process, into their mindset.
There's a fine line between love and compassion and enabling. And I think that's something to talk about, especially we're talking about stigma a lot. And my heart is big and wants to love everyone. The best thing that happened to me was when my dad said, I can't support this anymore. And my choice was homelessness or go get help. That didn't mean he didn't love me. That didn't mean that he thought I was my disease. It just meant that my bottom was there. I needed help. And he wasn't able to give it. I needed professional help.
Jeremy, listening to talk just now, you raised an interesting issue. I'm thinking about your dad saying, no, this can't work anymore. I can't do this. And yet this is the same person a little bit earlier in your life, you said his version of helping you was like, I'm going to teach you how to drink responsibly. And I'm sure it came from a place of love and concern for you, but obviously that wasn't the help that you needed. And now it's obvious in hindsight because he arrived at a different place.
Yeah. So that period of time was probably 10 years of a lot of struggle, right? My entire 20s was spent struggling with trying to figure this out. And it's not only me going through that struggle. The people that love me are going through it as well and growing and changing in their beliefs. Thank goodness. I don't think everyone has the family that does that. I had a family that did that for me and also went through those changes. So he had been seeking help in how to deal with his son, who was an alcoholic, in the same way that I'd been seeking help. And his thought of how to help also changed. It's a family disease. Families are affected by it. Families also heal. I'm not the only one who healed in this situation. My family healed.
Yeah, well, it's such a beautiful message, and I especially like the, earlier you acknowledged, I need professional help. I love my daughter, I love my son, or I love my brother or sister. Doesn't mean I have the expertise to help with that thing, but we do need to do it together, right?
Yeah.
I need to be there for them the way that they need me, and I can be helpful, just like they need the help and structure for them to manage, or deal with the addiction.
The most well-intentioned help from a parent isn't always what
Right.
an alcoholic needs. My mom passed away probably 7 or 8 years ago, and she would have, no, probably 10. She would have, as a mom would, loved me and taken care of me as long as she could have.
Indeed.
There's that line in enabling, right? And I don't know that it would have been the best for me, because it could have kept me drinking for longer. I needed someone to say, we can't stand by and watch this anymore. The only person I had left was my dad. And he came to that realization that I'm not helping him anymore.
No.
Right?
Well, I again, thank you for sharing your story. It's such an inspiration, a powerful message. Congratulations on the business director.
Thank you.
In 10 years, and I wish you the best.
Yeah.
I love the path you're on now.
Me too. This is a great place to be. I love it. I feel lucky and blessed to be here.
Good. Well, thanks again, Jeremy.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm Dave Worsley. You've been watching PHTV4 Spotlight. We've been talking with Jeremy at the Center on Southwest Highway about drug addiction and the stigmas associated with it. Thank you for watching.